Locho sampo pagyo trashe pa tuche tempe tinle yarngoda pelge drolor zampe zeparache palde lame shabla solvade Omo a Guru Vajradhara Suma Timo Nisha Sane Karm Utta Varda Nishre Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om a Guru Vajradhara Suma Timo Nisha Sane Karm Utta Varda Nishre Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Suma Timo Nisha Sane Karm Utta Varda Nishre Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Pakyuke kudan dagi alu, pakyuke sundan dagi nga, pakyuke tukdan dagi yi, tenyerme chikto jingi alu. Makyuke kudan dagi alu, makyuke sundan dagi nga, Makyuke tukdan dagi tenyerme chikto jingi lo. Om Muni Muni Shakyamuni Swaha Om Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha Om Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Sangye chedan soge chonamla chancho pardo danye kyapso chi dage jinso gibe sonamgi drola penchre sangye druparasho sangye chedan soge chonamla Chancho pardo dani kyapsu chi dagi jinso gibe sonamgi drola pinchra sangye druparesho sangye chetan sogi chona chancho pardo dani kyapsu chi Dagi jinso gibe sonamgi drola pinchira sangye druparasho. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge into enlightenment through the practice of generosity and the other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Today we are going to continue from where we stopped yesterday. explaining in page number 41, Training in the Ultimate Awakening Mind, the Absolute Bodhicitta. And yesterday we explained the 3 types of emptiness. The emptiness of external phenomena, the emptiness of the mind, the emptiness of emptiness, and so on, and the meaning of emptiness. And today we will enter how to meditate on it. But before that, there is one aspect which is very important in every practice, in every part of Buddhist philosophy and teachings. Not only in that, also in other contexts, actually, it's very important, which is the fact that the process to realize something is divided into 3 parts. There is first listening. So if we like to develop any quality, love, compassion, generosity, wisdom, stability, recognize the preciousness of this life, or to realize impermanence as the certainty of death, or anything we want to do like that, any quality we like to develop, it goes through 3 processes, which is called in Tibetan Tösam Gomsum. First, we need to listen, Töpa. What means to listen? We acquire information. We listen to someone teaching, we read a book. First, we learn. We receive information. Okay? Second step, we need to comprehend. Comprehend means we need to make that knowledge not something that we repeat because someone else said. That knowledge must become our own knowledge. So we analyze, we go through it again and again until we have a very clear understanding about that subject. For instance, the preciousness of this life. First I go through it, I understand why this life is precious, I listen to many teachings, I read the Lamrim, etc., etc. Then, one point I start analyzing and I start reflecting upon it until I have no doubt whatsoever of how precious this life is that I have. But then we still have a long way to go. Because once we have understood and once we have comprehended, then we need to familiarize ourselves with that knowledge up to a certain level that it comes naturally and spontaneously. So, this is called the process of meditating. Okay? And if we would divide, I would say we could put like 1/3 of the process is listening and comprehending, and 2/3 at least is meditating. So, for whatever reason, nowadays we have this strong idea in our modern time that once I have listened and once I have understood, that's enough. I am ready, I have understood. What's the next thing now? But you are just in the beginning. When we understand something, that's so wonderful, but it means now we can meditate. As Milarepa said, Tösam mepe gombani laktum chakzak tabuyin. To meditate without having listened and comprehended is just like trying to escalate a big rock, to climb a big rock with closed hands. There is nowhere to grab. Similar to that, if we try to meditate on something without knowing what we are going to meditate about, I'm going to meditate on emptiness, but I have no idea what emptiness is. How can I do that? Because to meditate on something, it means I need to familiarize my mind with that. And in order to familiarize my mind with that, I must be able to see it. And if I don't know what it is, how can I see it? So, the process of listening and comprehending, it's extremely important. But we need to understand that it's not the final step. It's just a passage. For example, about love and compassion. First, we need to understand the importance of developing love and compassion. We understand the process through which all sentient beings are so kind towards us, the process of developing equanimity, and so on. Once we listen to that, then we need to comprehend it. We need to have no doubts whatsoever that, selfishly speaking, it's better to be altruistic. We get to the strong conclusion of that. But then we need to meditate. And to meditate on love is not to meditate on the meaning of love. It's to induce ourselves to feel real love. It's artificial in the beginning, We induce ourselves into love. It's not spontaneous, but it's real. And then the more we do, gradually it becomes spontaneous until one day we can spontaneously have this feeling of love with equanimity for others. That's when we realize it. Okay? But the process comes first listen, then comprehend, then there is a long passage of meditating. Okay? This is something that is very important. But this is not only regarding Buddhist practice. Even in our mundane world, let's say anything that we like to learn, we have these three processes. For instance, let's say we like to learn to be a doctor, just to make any example, okay? First, we need to listen. We need to go to the classes, we need to read the books, we need to gain the information about the medicine and the treatments we need to do. We need to gain knowledge, right? Once we gain that knowledge, we need to comprehend it. We need to understand that knowledge in a certain way that it's not anymore a repetition of what is in the book. It's because we truly understood it. So when we have no doubts anymore about what is there, and it became our own understanding and not a repetition anymore of what is in a book or what someone has said, then means we complete the process of comprehension. But once I have comprehended well how the whole medicine system is working and so on, how to cure a certain disease, I'm still not a real doctor. I still need to do practice. So it's then when I need to go to the practice where I apply that knowledge and that comprehension, I need to apply that into practice. And when I start using that knowledge and applying it, the more I use it, the more I become used to it. Until there is a moment in which I am in front of the patient and I simply know what to do. I don't need to think about it. It's part of me. Then I have become a real doctor somehow. No? Like I remember one friend, he's a chiropractor. And he's a very good chiropractic doctor. And with a lot of experience, many years. And he even have like the international, the world record for a number of patients on chiropractic. Like the amount of people he sees is simply shocking. Since early morning until late in the evening, every patient doesn't take longer than 10 minutes. And it works very well. Anyhow, I went a few times to him. And then one time I was there with him, and then he was telling me, he said, there is something I can tell to you. Normally to people I don't say this, they won't understand. Maybe you understand me. To you I can say, he said, after many years working in this way, when I enter here to start working in the morning, it's like almost if I enter into a sort of a trance. And when the patient enters, I simply know what the patient has. I don't need to think about it. I don't need to look at the x-rays. I simply go and I know exactly where I need to touch. Sometimes I confront with the x-ray, but it's always exact. And he's incredibly good. And he's saying, this is after so many years. Then, the knowledge is there, but it's not anymore in a conceptual level. It goes into a deeper level. That's when you realize something. Okay? The same thing can be for an architect. The same thing can be for somebody doing any type of job. Anything that we do. First we need to listen, then we need to comprehend, but then we need to apply it. And when we apply that, gradually we familiarize ourselves with it until it becomes part of ourselves. It becomes spontaneously within us. It's like someone playing an instrument. There is a moment where the instrument becomes an extension of one's own body. That's when you realize it. When you don't need to think anymore about it. That's why there is this saying, first you learn, then you forget it. That's when you have actually realized you don't need to think about it. It just comes spontaneously. Okay? But in order to do that, we need to familiarize ourselves, and that's the process of meditation. So I would like to see with you today, when we talk about emptiness, what is this process in emptiness? Listening, comprehending, and meditating. What are these actual three steps? Okay? How do we know where we are? When is one, when is the other step of this? Okay? But always remember, these three passages, Tesam Gomsum, they are very, very important on anything. So, Once we are sure about something, then we need truly to familiarize ourselves with it. And remember, to meditate on love is not to meditate on the meaning of love, it's to induce oneself to feel love. It's a big difference between the two. Okay? So now we'll see how this works also. Okay? So, we start with the first part, listening. The process of listening, as we said, as the name itself says, needs to be done by listening, by reading. So we listen to teachings, we read the books, and so on. We acquire information. So the first thing is that we need to acquire information regarding here, which are the 3 steps of listening, comprehending, and meditating on emptiness. Okay? To understand that, then we also need to understand that there are 3 wisdoms. There is the wisdom of listening, the wisdom of comprehending, and the wisdom of meditating. Which means when we develop the wisdom of listening, it means we have completed the process of listening. When we develop the wisdom of comprehension, we have completed the process of comprehension. And when we develop the wisdom of meditation, we have entered into the correct form of meditation. We have not completed the process yet, but we have entered into it. So, we start with the first, listening. Wisdom of listening, generally speaking, it is developed when we, first of all, all the 3 wisdoms, they are related always to specific objects. So I can develop the wisdom of listening and comprehending and meditating about impermanence, but not about emptiness, just to make an example, okay? So when do we realize the wisdom of listening regarding emptiness? Generally speaking, regarding any object, we develop the wisdom of listening when we develop what is called a correct assumption. A correct assumption is when we are sure about something in a correct way, but we have no direct experience and no logical understanding. No comprehension about it. So, someone said something to me, I read about it, it makes some sort of sense, so I truly believe in it. Why it is like that, I don't have yet the real comprehension, and I have not had any direct experience, but I believe in it. Okay, this is the first level, when we completed listening. Then now we need to go to the next step, which is comprehending. But to make it more clear about emptiness, when do we realize this first step? This first step is realized when we are able to recognize the object of negation as an object of negation. In other words, we conclude the process of listening when we can see the object of affirmation of ignorance as the object of negation of wisdom. I will repeat. We complete this process when we can see the object of affirmation of ignorance as the object of negation of wisdom. Yesterday we made this sort of graphic, which we made a drawing in our mind, in which we have the basis. The basis is like, let's say, we made the example yesterday, the flower. Okay, on the basis we have the flower. Then, on one side we say it is, on the other say it is not. On the other side it is not. Then above we put the object which is inherently existent. So, on the center column, we have on the basis, which is always the same, the flower. On top of that, we have the object, which is inherently existent. And the central column is always the same. On the 2 sides, we have just the 2 things. It is not, it is, and it is not. Okay? So, if we make the reading in one side, we say the flower, it is inherently existent. On the other side, we say the flower is not inherently existent. So the only difference between these 2 is it is and it is not. Okay? The rest is the same. The basis is the same and the object is the same. So one is ignorance. The flower, it is of inherent existence. The flower is inherently existent. This is ignorance. In other words, we are saying the flower exists objectively. This is ignorance. On the other side, we have wisdom, which says the flower is not of inherent existence. So the only difference between wisdom and ignorance is a simple it is or it's not. Okay? So because of that, the way to develop wisdom, first we need to see the central column. If we cannot see the central column, we don't know what to say it is and what to say it's not. We need to negate something and we don't know what we are negating. So first I need to recognize the object, in this case inherently existent, okay? And I need to connect that that object is what is being affirmed by ignorance, but actually it is to be negated. Okay? It's like yesterday we made the example, is there an elephant on the table? No? So one mind says there is an elephant on the table, the other mind saying there is no elephant on the table. The only way for me to be able to negate the existence of an elephant on the table is to be able to understand what would be an elephant on the table and then say, oh, actually there is none. Okay? This I will add in English, I didn't say in Italian. As Shantideva in the Bodhisattva Charavatara said, Takpe ngola marek par te ngome zimain. Without entering in contact with the designated object, it's not possible to comprehend its known existence. Without entering in contact with the designated object, it's not possible to comprehend its known existence. I cannot understand the known existence of inherent existence or the known objective existence of the flower, okay? I cannot understand that if I cannot understand what is objective existence and what is a flower. I can only negate something when I understand what I am negating, when I can imagine it, when I can see it somehow. Okay? So for that reason, it's like another example also which is given by Geshe Yeshe Wanchuk, one of the gurus of Rinpoche, also one of my gurus. Geshe Yeshe Wanchuk, in one of the greatest masters of our times, and in one of his texts he wrote, he said, to recognize the object of negation, you need not only to know the object, but you also need to know that it is the object of negation. Okay? For example, it's like if you need to catch a thief, a robber. It's not enough to know the person. You need to know the person and you need to know that he's the thief. Otherwise, let's say Devadatta is the robber. I know Devadatta, but I can still be looking for the robber. Because I'm not connecting one thing with the other. I must know Devadatta, and then I must know, oh, he's the one that has been stealing. How? I have not seen it really yet, and I have no real logical explanation of why, but I know it, you know. People have told me, I trust them, but I have not yet got my own real deep conclusion, but I know he's the one. Then we go real to deep investigation. Okay? But first I have all the clues which bring me to Devadatta. And maybe, you know, he's a long-time friend, I know him so well, like, you know, the object of affirmation of ignorance, we know it so well since such a long time. But we need to understand that this is the object of negation. Similar to that, it's like Devadatta, maybe I am a good friend of Devadatta since a long time, and I'm looking for the thief since a long time. But suddenly I get some clues. Oh, Devadatta is the actual thief. Ah, really? Then I start following the clues. When I really believe in the clues, that's when I have listened enough. Now I need to make my own investigation and be sure that it's like that before going to catch him. Okay? So when I conclude my investigation, this is the moment when I conclude comprehension. When I go to catch him, I am meditating. When I'm finished to catch him, then I realized it. Okay? But similar to that, the point is that we realize the wisdom of listening, emptiness about emptiness, when we can recognize the object of affirmation of ignorance as the object of negation of wisdom. In other words, we must see how it's not ignorance in general, it's my own ignorance. We need to see how do phenomena appear to me as being objective. And that's what I need to negate. No? As we were saying before in Italian, saying, when we understand that the objective existence of subjective reality is the object of negation. Because reality, even though we live in a subjective reality, it appears to us as being objective. And what is the object of affirmation? Because it appears to us as being objective, and what our mind does, our ignorant mind does, it believes in it. It grasps reality as being objective, inherently existent. Okay? So, if we go again to our graphic, in the central column, what we have? The basis, so the flower or whatever, and the object, inherent existence, objective existence. That's how things appear to us. The ignorant mind is saying it is as it appears. It exists as it appears, of being of inherent existence, objective existence. And the wisdom is saying it is not. So when do we conclude the part of listening? When we can recognize the object of affirmation of our own ignorance. When we can see how reality appears to us as being of inherent existence and how we grasp at it. Then when we see that and we say, that's what is to be negated. Then we need to go for it. Okay? So first we receive the clue of who is the thief. And then now we need to prove it. Okay, this is the second step. Okay? Yesterday, after the teachings, I went up to Rinpoche's house and I was just talking a little bit with him and about different things. And then I explained to him this graphic that we just made, about wisdom and ignorance. And then Rinpoche said something nice. He said, I don't know what's the real reason if people nowadays have more merits or are more intelligent or what are the reason. But the fact is that when I first studied these subjects, I really couldn't understand anything. In the very beginning, when Rinpoche, he started studying what we call Chik Dutal, one and many, which is the first subject when we really start studying about emptiness and so on, when we study about all of this. Rinpoche was saying, in the beginning it was so difficult to understand all of this, he said. And he was saying, now when you say it's so clear, you put like this, it's so clear, and saying, and nowadays, people can just understand this. So incredible, it took so long for me to get some of these meanings. And one way is because it's a very different approach. Like the approach to which we receive in the monastery is it's beautiful and incredible, but it's very time-consuming. It takes a long time because we go around. And when you see, suddenly you understand everything. But during the process, you don't understand much. Okay? And here we have a different approach. So, this is one way. But what I wanted to say with that was that the subjects that we are touching is not for beginners. We are really going into deep, important subjects in a very serious and profound way. So this is just for everybody to know. It's not something just here playing for beginners. We are really entering into subjects which are very important. Normally it takes a long time to understand something also. Okay? So, next step, comprehension. Okay? The part of comprehension, it is based on the part of comprehension is based on understanding logically. So we got the first line we got. So the flower lacks it's not, it's empty. When we say it is not, when we say lacks, when we say it's empty, we are meaning the same thing. We are simply negating something. Okay? So the flower, it's not inherently existent. The flower is empty of inherent existence. The flower lacks inherent existence. We are saying the same thing, okay? I understood that. So the first step is I understood that the flower lacks inherent existence. The question that comes is, why? This is what I need to understand deeply. The next step is to get the deep meaning of why is it empty of inherent existence? I believe that it's empty of inherent existence. I understood. I have listened to it so many times. My gurus have said I got all the clues that saying that it's empty of inherent existence. But why? This is the process of comprehension. We realize the wisdom of comprehension when we developed what is called a correct inferential cognition on the lack of inherent existence. Okay? Now, a valid inferential cognition is basically when we understand something based on logic. For instance, I can perceive the fire that is behind the mountain because I see smoke. So I say, oh, look, there is smoke coming out from behind the mountain. This means there is fire there. I know wherever there is smoke, there is fire. I see the smoke, I know there is fire. Okay, this is an inferential cognition. A valid inferential cognition, it means it is perceiving the things correctly based on a correct logic. Okay? So, we need to understand why phenomena lack inherent existence. Why the flower is not of objective existence. Why the flower is not of inherent existence. And the answer for that, there are different logics that we can follow here. The most common one and the most used one, which is called the king of all logics, is the one that says the flower, which is the basis, it's empty of inherent existence because it is interdependent. So, by understanding interdependence, we can understand the logic of why something is not of inherent existence. Okay? So, making it quite short, quite briefly, to understand it a bit better. What we mean by interdependence. For instance, if we take this book, okay? And this is a book, right? So we ask ourselves, what is a book? Truly. Without analyzing, I would say, this is what I have in my hand is a book, right? Simple, easy, don't need to discuss, don't need to make many philosophical thoughts and complicated things. This is a book, no need any more than that. But if we start to analyze the book, we will see what are the parts that compose the book. We have pages, there is a cover, there is paper, there is ink, there are words, paragraphs, chapters, and so on, right? Now, if we really analyze well what is a book, we will get the final conclusion that a book is nothing more, nothing less than a concept attributed at a union of parts. Okay? It's like, a friend once was in the Amazon forest with the native Indians in Brazil, and then arrived in a tribe, and one lady there, she was very happy and very proud that she could show to our friend something that she had from the, let's say, modern society, and she was using it very well. So she got something which came from the city, and she was using it very well. She was very proud of it. And it was her grill. She had a grill where she would make her meat and so on. So she had a grill, and she was saying, oh, it's so useful, this thing I got from the city, and I don't know how it got there, and it really works well. But in the beginning, when it got here, it was not working so well, so I fixed it. What it was a metal chair. Somehow, a metal chair got in the middle of this tribe, in the middle of the Amazon forest, okay? And none of them had ever seen a chair before. They never sit on chairs. They don't know what a chair is. They never used one. So when she saw this object, she started looking and she said, oh, that's good to make the grill of the meat. And also to put the fire under and on top. But it was the place where to sit, which was covering. So she took out the seat, and there was just a metal like this, so where she could place the meat and the fire would go through. But that's perfect to cook the meat. And then that's what was her grill. Was she wrong? No. What makes from that object a grill or a chair? What makes from this object, a salad bowl, a bell, a head, a weapon, a bowl to give food for the dog, or many other things? What makes it one thing or the other? The value that we attribute to it, the name that we give to it. That's what makes the difference, okay? So what happened is that this object, the book, is nothing more, nothing less than a concept called book, a name which brings with it characteristics and functions that is attributed at a union of parts. Which are the parts? The cover, the pages, and so on. Now let's take a page. Okay? What is a page? Nothing more, nothing less than a concept, a name, attributed at a union of parts. Then I take a little part, the number 1. Okay? Here I have page 157. I take that little number on the corner, it's a part of the page. What is the number 157 written here? It's a concept attributed at the union of parts. Then I take the number 1. What is the number 1? Nothing more, nothing less than a concept attributed at a union of parts, even mathematically speaking. Number 1 doesn't exist objectively. Can the number 1 be divided? Yes. So does it have parts? And why are not many parts together and is a unity? Because we have chosen to call it 1. Okay. How many parts make a unit? It's just depending on the value that we attribute to it. We have binary systems, we have systems which are based on 10, we have systems which are based on 8, we have many mathematical systems which are different. And it's just a matter of what we attribute, how many parts together make a unity. And that part by itself is divided into parts, and like this we can go on and on and on and on and on and on forever. So even mathematically, the number 1, we think, oh, no, 1 is 1. No, 1 is not 1. 1 is just a concept attributed at a collection of parts. And like this we can go on for each and everything. Nothing exists independently of its own parts. Nothing exists independently of the name that is attributed to it, to that unity of parts, the collection of parts. That's what everything is. Okay. So what is the interdependence of everything? The interdependence between the unity and the parts, and the interdependence between the basis of imputation and the imputation of the name. So how does this object exist? It is a book because it depends on its parts to exist as a book, and it depends on the basis of imputation, which is the collection of parts, put together with a name that is attributed to it by the observer. Okay, that's how it exists. Right? So, can something be interdependent and at the same time exist in an objective, intrinsic way? Not possible to find. Because if something is objective, if something is intrinsically existent, it means it's always the same. And if something is objective, because it depends on the observer. Okay? So in other words, if we really made it simple, we could say, it's actually oversimplifying, but it helps. It's saying the book or the flower, it's not objective because it is subjective. Rejo me bar chik chertu tenre milur thonga tsam ni ne nge shi yulgi zindang kun jik na teze tawe cheba dzokpa la. This is the most precise one of what we are saying. It says, I will first read the last one. It says, when these two realizations, which means the realization of interdependence, understanding how things exist, and the realization that it lacks inherent existence, okay, emptiness, exist simultaneously without alternating. And this is the main point. And merely seeing the in, at that point you have completed the analysis on the path. Now you need to meditate, but you have comprehended it. Okay? So when do we comprehend emptiness? When by seeing interdependence, we know right away that it's empty of inherent existence, when the two things cannot coexist. Okay? The other verse before says, those who perceive the inevitable nature of cause and effect, which is interdependence, of all phenomena of samsara and nirvana, those who perceive that all phenomena, independently pure or impure, are interdependent, those that perceive this totally destroy the grasping mind's object of perception. What is the grasping mind's object of perception? Which is the object? We could translate here differently, not made like a commentary in which would say, totally destroys the grasping at the object of affirmation. What is this object? Inherent existence. Is the object of grasping of which mind? Of ignorance. Okay? So totally destroys the grasping mind's object of perception. Have at that time entered the path pleasing the Buddhas. Okay? And when have we completed the analysis on the correct view of reality? When by simply seeing that something is interdependent, we can clearly see that it lacks inherent existence. Okay? So for that reason, we should put effort into realizing interdependence. Okay? Well. So with this we complete the part of comprehension. And now we'll explain how to meditate. Okay? Now, how to meditate on emptiness. There are different ways that it could be possible, but I will explain one way, which for me is the most clear one, on how to meditate on emptiness. Okay? So, I will explain in a way that of something that every one of us we can already start somehow practicing, but it goes until the highest levels. Okay? So first of all, the meditation of emptiness is divided into two parts. Analytical meditation and single-pointed meditation. So, in the practical level, what we do? First of all, we will sit down, correct position. We start by focusing our mind, bringing our mind to a state of more balance, through our breath, and so on. Then, after that, we do the preliminary prayers, we take refuge, generate the bodhicitta. Then after that, we do the preliminary prayers, we do the practice of Guru Yoga, where we accumulate merits and purify our negativities through the 7 limb prayers, dedicated specifically in order to accumulate merits and purify in order to realize emptiness. So we do our practice of making offerings and purification and so on, like as we do in the Guru Puja. Then once we conclude the preliminaries and the Guru Yoga, where we finish to receive the blessings, then we start the actual practice, the actual meditation. In the actual meditation, and before that we can even do more extensively requesting the blessings of Guru Buddha in order to be able to realize emptiness. So after we have done this, then we do the actual practice. The actual practice, we sit down, and first of all, we do the analytical meditation. In the analytical meditation, we imagine that we need to convince someone why something is empty of inherent existence. So let's take, for instance, the book. So I imagine that there is someone that really don't understand why the book lacks inherent existence. Someone that says, no, the book, it's objectively a book. Okay? And I need to convince that person why the book is not of inherent existence. Why the book is empty of inherent existence. Because it is interdependent. Because it depends on its own parts to exist. Because it depends on the imputation of the name. If it would be inherently existent, it will be always the same. It will never be changing. It will be permanent. It will not be divisible, and so on, okay? So we go to the whole process. The better we have done the listening and the comprehending, the better we can make the analytical meditation. If we're not able to do well the analytical meditation, means we have not listened and comprehended enough. Means we have not comprehended, actually. And if we have not comprehended, we are not able to comprehend, means we still need to listen. Okay? So, I do the analytical meditation in which I will prove to someone, an hypothetical Dharma friend, why something, whenever we meditate on emptiness, there is always the basis of emptiness, which is something, the object that is empty of inherent existence. It can be the book, it can be the sound, it can be a sensation, it can be the person, it can be all phenomena, it can be anything, okay? So even let's start the book. So the book is empty of inherent existence. The book is not of inherent existence. The book lacks inherent existence. Why? Oh, because it's interdependent, because of this and that. We go through the whole analysis. When we get to the conclusion that we are able to convince, and we get to the conclusion, yes, the book is empty of inherent existence. We got to the clear conclusion of that. We are talking conceptually, logically, okay? Then at that point, we take the analytical mind that analyzed why the book lacks inherent existence, and we put it aside. Like we hide it behind a door somewhere. We don't give much attention, we just keep it aside. And then we rest our mind just in the present moment, stop with the whole analytical process. Okay? And then we need to meditate not so much from the head, we need to feel more from the chest, from the heart. And then we look at the object that we were talking before. In this case, is the book. We observe the book. And we let the book appear to us. It's like almost if we don't try to see the book, we let the book appear to us. So we simply observe it. And we see that the book appears until the book appears to us as it normally does, as being of inherent existence. The book appears to us as if it existed completely independently of anything else. And then we see that our mind starts to grasp at it as being of inherent existence. The more we let this happen, the better we can after meditate on the lack of inherent existence. So we need to let the mind that grasps at inherent existence truly to manifest itself. Until our mind comes and says, the book is of inherent existence. We grasp at it, we say the book is of inherent existence. Once we reach to that point, and we have this, it's a non-conceptual thing. It's how it appears to us and how we grasp at it. Once we reach that, we stay for it for a bit, and then we take the mind that was hidden behind the door, comes out and say, what are you doing, stupid one? The book is not of inherent existence. It's interdependent, We don't need to go through the whole analysis again because we already did the analysis before. And we just come and we say, the book, it's not of inherent existence. If we feel the need, we can do analysis. Otherwise, we just cut the mind that grasps at being of inherent existence. The book is interdependent, so it cannot be of inherent existence. And as we grab at that, it's like a shock. It's like cutting. Very straight and cutting the grasping at inherent existence. And as we cut it, we remain with that conclusion, the book lacks inherent existence. And as we remain with the lack of inherent existence, but the important thing here is that it's not just any inherent existence that it lacks. It's my own object of affirmation. So we must first let our ignorance manifest itself, affirming that the book is of inherent existence, so we can cut our own ignorance by understanding that that object of affirmation is actually what we need to negate. So when we negate what we have affirmed before, that's when we cut it. Okay? So we need to negate the inherent existence that we have first affirmed. That's why first we need to manifest the mind that affirms that it is of inherent existence. Then we come and we say it is not of inherent existence. And then when we cut it, then we remain in that state. It lacks inherent existence. It's empty of inherent existence. And then we remain in that simple state of mind, which is the simple negation, the non-affirmative negation of the object of negation. The simple non-affirmative negation of inherent existence. We say it is not of inherent existence, nothing else. We remain at that conclusion. And then we stay meditating on that as long as we can. We rest our mind within that state. Okay? Then, when by resting our mind within the state of the conclusion of the lack of inherent existence, the emptiness of inherent existence, of the book or any other object, when by resting our mind in the lack of inherent existence, without mental dullness or mental agitation, and this brings a state of well-being for both body and mind, this is when we have developed the shamatha on emptiness, which is the wisdom of meditating on emptiness. The next step is that while staying single-pointed, concentrated on the lack of inherent existence, nothing else, one small part of the mind, which is described by Panchen Lobsang Chokyi Gyaltsen in the root of Mahamudra, like a lake with very transparent water and no any movement in the water, no any wind, very calm lake. Then as the lake is calm, which is the single-pointed concentrated mind, one small part of the mind comes out like a small fish, going around the lake and analyzing the whole lake, but not moving the water that is above. Similar to that, as our mind remains calmly, peacefully concentrated on the lack of inherent existence, one small part of our mind comes out and start to analyze why it's empty of inherent existence. Oh, because it's interdependent. And we do the analysis again. So as we keep the single-pointed concentration, we have a small part of our mind that does the analysis. In the beginning, this is very difficult and tiring. When the fact of keeping single-pointed concentration and doing the analysis together bring a state of well-being for body and mind, without mental dullness and mental agitation, we have developed what we call the vipassana, or the profound view on emptiness. When we stay in this state for a longer period, we meditate like this for a longer period, until gradually the experience of the lack of inherent existence becomes less and less conceptual, until there is a moment in which it's direct. It is what is called when one realizes and direct valid cognition of the lack of inherent existence. It's a non-conceptual realization. After staying for meditation for a long period on that, there is a moment in which there is like a poof, it's like if one melts together with that object of meditation, and then simply there is a direct realization of that lack of inherent existence, something that it's totally non-conceptual. When there is this strong, deep realization of this lack of inherent existence, direct realization, this is when one realizes emptiness, and by that eliminates the root of suffering, ignorance, and gets out of samsara. Okay? In other words, when we start meditating on emptiness with renunciation and bodhicitta, when we start meditating on emptiness with bodhicitta, we are in what's called the path of accumulation. When we develop the vipassana, the single-pointed concentration with analysis that brings a state of well-being for body and mind without mental agitation and mental dullness, then the practitioner is able to develop this of emptiness, then the vipassana on emptiness, when the practitioner enters what is called the path of preparation. Then when there is a direct experience of emptiness, when realized emptiness, is called entering the path of seeing. Then after that, there is the path of meditation, where all the other 9 bhumis need to go on, which is basically, again and again, going into this deep meditative state of the direct experience of the lack of inherent existence, through which gradually one is able to eliminate the imprints of ignorance. In the practical level, what are the imprints of ignorance? It's the appearance of inherent existence. When the practitioner is able to have a directly realize the lack of inherent existence, when coming out of the meditation state, reality still appears as being of inherent existence. Looking at things, it still appears as being objective, but one does not grasp anymore as if it was of inherent existence. Okay? When completing the path of meditation is when, through meditation, one reaches the state in which there is no more appearance of inherent existence and sure no more grasping at such appearance. So there is no more grasping at inherent existence, which is the actual ignorance, and there is not even more any appearance of inherent existence. This is the state of Buddhahood, the path of no more learning. Okay? So, as it is said on the text by Geshe Chekawa, it says, the remedy itself is released in its own place, referring to meditating on the emptiness of emptiness, but also saying that the remedy itself is released, which means like it's through this remedy of the realization of emptiness, that one can be released from suffering and from samsara and reach enlightenment. So, place the essence of the path on the nature of the basis of all. Place the essence of your path into realizing emptiness, into developing wisdom. What gives us the strength to go on the path is compassion and love. The essence of the path is wisdom. What gives us the strength to realize it is love and compassion. So it's like the 2 wings necessary to go to enlightenment. Okay? So with this, we can see that the path, the way how to meditate on emptiness, is not something that is, how to say, so far away from us, you know. We have been talking quite clearly about it. We can listen, we can comprehend, and we can start to meditate upon it. Sure, if we are not able even to meditate a little bit on our breath and concentrate a bit, how we would concentrate after an emptiness? That's quite difficult, but you know, that's why we need to develop concentration also. But we can already start meditating on our own abilities on the lack of inherent existence. Okay? I think it's quite clear, right? Okay, and from this we also get the whole path to enlightenment, how it is divided and how it is done. Okay. Now, very, very briefly, the last line on this. In period between sessions, be a creator of illusion. How to practice between meditation sessions. Okay? So, the next line says, place the essence of the, in the period between sessions, be a creator of illusions. Tunsam gyume kyeburcha. Who is a creator of illusions? When you take an illusionist, normally, traditionally it is said that the illusionist will make illusions through the power of mantra and the power of substance. So he will give you something to drink, he will put some incense around or whatever. He will do something that through the substance, plus his ability to direct your mind through his own capacity of concentration and through his own mantras and spells, what we call spells, he would be able to create illusions. But what was said that he himself would be under the same substance and under the same spell. So he would see the same illusion also. It's like if we take a modern illusionist that can make illusions through the power of technological things, like images and whatever, okay? Does he see the illusion that he's creating or not? Yes, but he knows that it's just an illusion because he's the one creating it, right? So, similar to that, what happens is that when the practitioner enter into the state of meditation on emptiness, what is emptiness, as we said? Is the Gakcha Kaktsam Gimega, the non-affirmative negation of the object of negation, of inherent existence. Okay? So it's the simple non-existence of inherent existence. So, during the meditation, the only object of perception is the lack of inherent existence. Nothing more, nothing less. When this meditative state ends, once again, the appearance of inherent existence comes. Once again, what I see, what I listen, what I think, it appears to me as being of inherent existence. But I have my own experience that it's not. So I know it's not of inherent existence. I know this is just an illusion which is being created by my own ignorance. Because truly, phenomena are not of inherent existence. Okay? So, we should be like a creator of illusions between sessions. So as we go between the sessions, we should just observe things. They appear to us as being of inherent existence, but we know, no, they are not. So I do not let myself be driven by it. There is an object of attachment, an object of aversion. It appears as an object of attachment by its own characteristics, but I know it's not. I know it's like this just because of the value that I am attributing to it. It does not exist as it appears. It is just an illusion, even though it appears as such. That's why it says it's like being in a dream, knowing that we are dreaming. It still appears, but we know that it's not reality. We know that it's just a dream. Okay? So this is how to practice in between the meditation sessions. Things appear to us as being of inherent existence. We recognize that appearance, and we know that it's just an appearance coming from our own ignorance. But truly, it is not like that. Okay? This is how to practice in between sessions. Now, we have done it very shortly, very briefly, also because we have already somehow warmed up about the subject. If we need to go again on it, it will take much longer, okay? So with this, today we conclude this second point on how to train the mind, on relative bodhicitta and on absolute bodhicitta. Okay? Now it's a matter of practicing. So with this, we conclude the second of the 7 points. And the next 5 points are there actually as a way of support to develop relative and absolute bodhicitta. The second of the 7 points. So which is how to train in relative and absolute bodhicitta. All the next 5 points that come after are there as a support. So the first point is a preparation. The second point is the actual practice. And the last 5 points is a support for the actual practice. Okay? Okay. Yeah, you make the question. Then we discuss tomorrow if necessary. We can discuss tomorrow if necessary. Okay, you can make the question, then we open. No, the point is the following. It's it's very clear. No, but it's very simple. It's not only technically, practically also. The point is that it's a long path. It's a long path. There is no other way. The fact which happens is that together with this, that's why together with meditating on emptiness, you need to meditate first on the preciousness of this life. You need to meditate first on impermanence. You need to meditate first on having a pure relation with the Guru, first of all. Then you need to meditate on the preciousness of this life. Then you need to meditate on impermanence and death. Then you need to meditate on the certainty of death. Then on that you need to meditate on the law of karma. And all the things that will help the part of attachment and anger and all of that to get smaller. Then you need to meditate on bodhicitta, developing love and compassion towards all sentient beings. That's why it's first train in the preliminaries. Then develop love and compassion. Then you can truly realize wisdom. If you jump right away to wisdom without putting the effort to train first in the preliminaries, then sure, it's like it becomes a sort of an intellectual game. Okay? If we follow the steps correctly, it takes time, yes. Paponka Rinpoche, in his process of meditating on Lamrim, which is what we are talking about, he took 1.5 years only meditating on this. No? Huh? No. Very simple. The preliminaries are helping with aversion and attachment, because I end up to understand first conceptually, and then I need to interiorize it, that my suffering is not coming from the external conditions, it's coming from my internal conditions, from my own defilements, understanding what is samsara. This is all part of the preliminaries. So once I understand what is samsara, samsara is the cycle of my own defilements, I understand that's the root of my own suffering, so I have no need to go and to follow that and so on. The more we do that, then gradually we can overcome it, and then we can go on it, And actually, by meditating on emptiness later also, on the object of aversion, the object of attraction, and so on, we can also diminish gradually the force of it. Sure, the strength of our own defilements is so strong because it's there for so many lives and for such a beginless time that it takes a lot. It's not for nothing that Buddha talked about 3 eons, starting from renunciation. But I feel like we have this expectation that we can do things in 3 days, or 3 months, or 3 years, or 3 decades. When normally it's a path which regards lives and lives and lives, being very objective. So based on this is why if we do not meditate correctly on the Four Noble Truths, first of all, then we cannot meditate really on emptiness. We can, but it's not going to work so well. That's why there is a gradual path. That's why there are the steps on which we go. And if we do not meditate on the preciousness of this life, then to meditate on samsara would not work so well either. We will not have the strength to want to eliminate our mental defilements if we do not recognize that this is one of the very few opportunities that we have to do that, and this opportunity is going to end very fast, and we must do something now. We have no time to waste. And then we understand, okay, but how is samsara? Samsara is the cycle, 12 links of interdependence, blah, 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 blah. We go through all this process. Then we start feeling, okay, I need to overcome my mental defilements. Then we start really working direct on it. Then from that, we can open the subject of developing bodhicitta. And then after that, we go to wisdom. If we truly follow this whole path, then I see it as something very real, The fact is that, sure, if we should just explain the part in which each one of us have already realized, most probably, I don't know which level each one is, and then we would maybe stay on the first point for a long time, But we need to go through our process is listening, comprehending, and meditating. The process of listening and comprehending we do together. Mainly, basically, listen we do together. Then comprehension mostly is done by oneself, and then meditation, But we need to start meditating in the very beginning, in the first part which is there. And what is very nice is that the more we go on, the more the years pass, the more we learn, the more we see how we need to go and make better the very beginning. I remember Geshe Thupte Rinchen, one of my teachers, asking, is there any Buddhist around here? We were like 70 monks, And then he said, I'm not sure if I am Buddhist, because I'm not sure if I truly take refuge in the correct way, So, we need to go back to the roots, and the more the roots are stronger, if we really follow the steps correctly, then there is nothing, I think it's perfectly the path. Sure, if we go just right away if we do not meditate enough on the faults of samsara and the 12 links of interdependence, and we do not put effort on our own renunciation, then to meditate on emptiness can become a sort of an intellectual game. But we are not really moving something inside, That's why first come renunciation. It's just making it short. Jetsun lame kutse rapten chi namkar tinle chochur gepadang losan tempe drume sasumgi drove musel tatu ne gyurchi Nimo dele tsendele, nime kuyan delekshin, nintsen takto delekpe, koncho sumke jingilo, koncho sumke ngodrup tsol, koncho sumke trashisho. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, May the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. Oma huntumba lame sangye rinpoche, kyoba lame tamcho rinpoche, drimba lame gendurip, kyamne kuncho sumla che babul. Buon appetito. Grazie a tutti.